Hello, everyone. We are back with another Lumino live stream, and today is a very special day. We have a very special guest. Before we talk about that, I want to invite you and to remind you that you should subscribe to our channel. You should follow our channel just so you can know about everything we're doing. Anytime we have something new, anytime we have something interesting. Now, let's bring in my dear friends, Bill and Denise, so they can talk to us about our guest of the day. Hi, Denise. Hi, Bill.
I'm Denise, and this is Bill, in case anybody was curious.
Yeah, I'm the one with the makeup.
Yes.
Yeah.
Our guest today, Rodrigo is right, our guest today is very special. Her name is Laura Zalenga, and you're probably very familiar with her if you are active at all on Instagram. She has very graciously agreed to allow us inside her world, a photography domain notable for its unique focus on self-portraiture, or selfies, as they're more commonly known these days, right?
Well, these are a little more sophisticated.
More sophisticated than, yes, sophisticated selfies.
Well, Laura has been a semi-finalist in the Sky Arts Master of Photography competition. Laura held a creative residency with Adobe in 2018 and 2019. Her work has been carried in countless publications and has been exhibited at numerous venues throughout Germany. Her client roster includes Mercedes, Disney, Maxmara, and the United Nations. So please, Rodrigo, bring in Miss Zalenga.
Hello. Hey, Laura. Welcome. Hello.
She still has time for the little people, which we
Thanks for having me here.
Laura, it's a pleasure. Like, it's really, really good to have you here with us. And I know we have a lot to talk today, but before we get to it, let's talk about something that nobody knows yet. We are bringing a special event with Laura in 2 weeks. So Laura, besides this talk today, she's coming back for a special premium VIP, whatever special word you want to attach to it, event in 2 weeks. Laura, can you talk to us a little bit about this event? What's happening then?
So we will already hear today that self-portrait is my genre, but of course it's an insane big topic. So today we will only be able to scratch at the surface and see some impressions into how I work, but there's so much more about it. And that's why I'm always saying, I could talk an hour about self-portraiture and why it's such an underrated genre, and how it influenced my life in so many ways in my personal life, and also so much in my photography skills, and also in my really in my career, where people think self-portraits are more something you would do maybe for fun or something like that. For me, it's so many of my big paid jobs are self-portraits, and yeah, there's so much to this topic. And also because I know so many people are interested in that when they're starting their career, I'm also going to explain a bit how you can, with any device, you can produce self-portraits that are really jaw-dropping. So I guess that's kind of a bit of a summary what I will talk about.
That's wonderful. That's great news. So guys, that's it. We're having a special
here, right? It's in here, right? It's how you use this tool, not necessarily having the most expensive or the most sophisticated gear, but how you use the gear.
Yeah.
So all the information about this event will be in the description. Keep an eye out for that. But now let's look at some work by Laura. So I'm gonna bring in some of your selected work, Laura, and this is one that's really spectacular. Can you tell us a little bit about it? What's your concept for that?
That one was part of a project. I don't even really know if that was, I think it was with a group of friends, but there's similar projects all over the world where you take a photo for a certain like period regularly. So I think that was maybe a 52 weeks project where like for a year, every week you have a theme and you take a photo. And the fun thing about is that if you just take photos yourself, you choose your own topics. But for this one and for projects like that, someone else chooses the topics, or it's a mix. Everyone like pitches in one topic or one theme or one word. And then this week was the theme of the week was pink. And let's say it's not my number one go-to color. And so immediately I was like, pink. What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do for this topic? And I had to think of like Barbie and I don't know, glitter things. And that's not so much my world, especially not in my photography, I would say, where it's more about natural tones. And then I was very uninspired and a bit frustrated. And then I ate a salad and it was with beetroot and a lot of pink juice happened. And I was thinking, this is pink too, and it looks beautiful on my plate. So maybe I can do something with that. And then I really ended up filling a bathtub with water and a bit of almond milk and a bit of beetroot juice. Because if you just add the beetroot juice, of course, it's not going to be that nice milky, not so see-through shimmer. And then, I took a lot of self-portraits in there, which was, I think, up till today, one of the most complicated like constructions with my camera and the tripod and everything. Messing up the whole bathroom. It was really fun.
You're not welcome at our house, okay? You're not staying at our house. Yeah, I think. I mean, I was also lucky that I cleaned it up pretty quickly, and also like I'm always saying that like it's not like a hair care tip. It's definitely not like something you want to repeat for shiny hair. It's not going to do that. But it was a fun thing, and I think it really. Made me realize that if you work on a subject that isn't in your comfort zone, you're going to learn a lot. And up till today, this is in my portfolio. So I think that says enough.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Did you, so you mentioned mixing milk and other things, like all these recipes, did you figure them out as you worked, as you developed your career, or did you research it beforehand? How do you come up with the perfect? Because it seems to be an accident, right? Like you got to this specific recipe by accident, and it's fantastic.
And I think that's also my preferred way of working. Is not like, I mean, it's good to have like a rough plan to know where you're kind of walking, but from there, to me, it's always been the most fun, and I think also the best outcomes when I was going somewhere with a plan and then. Not abandoning the plan, but not giving the plan too much attention, and more like giving yourself to, like allowing yourself to play and to experiment.
Yeah.
And that is something that, I can't overestimate, I think, because I think sticking to a plan limits you so much. And sometimes you have to, but as soon as you don't have to, I think it's the best thing to just don't, and just look left and right and up and down and underneath and behind you.
Mm-hmm. You plan not to plan. Right? You plan that you don't have to plan.
Just spontaneous.
That's a nice phrase about it. Yeah. That one. That's also like I was going for a big photography show from Germany, the Photokina. Was the client for this. They sent me to Tenerife. I don't even know how you say that in English. And I just knew beforehand that there's going to be a lot of rocks, and I love black rocks. I think it's so beautiful. So I knew I bring a black dress, and then let's see. And riff boots. I'm very happy I brought riff boots because this is like insanely spiky. You can definitely not walk on there. And climbed up there and just tested what's possible. Like, can I stand between those two rocks? Can I build a bridge? Can I combine those two? Really experimenting on what's visually possible. And I think here you already see that I'm a massive lover of like super reduced like visuals. I mean, I love that you only see like black and white and a little figure, and that's all that happens. Like, and I think it really gives you more room to, for your own thoughts. And I'm not giving like all the details to the story, and it gives the viewer the possibility to make up their own story, maybe.
Yes. Yes. Like, what is her story? Why is she there? Do you work with assistants, or are you using like a remote shutter?
Yeah. So I know I should eventually learn it in my life, but I'm just such a fan of working just on my own. And I think especially for self-portraits, that's like, it's almost a little magic that's gone if there's someone else watching you, because the magic is that you're on your own. So I think I sometimes do that now with people who are very close to me, that I'm saying like, I put the camera on a tripod, I put all settings, this is the frame, can you just click whenever I say click? Because sometimes it's hard. Normally I do have a remote control.
Okay.
Or nowadays, sometimes having a phone connected. But of course that does still require you to have that somewhere on you, click it and then put it away. There's a 2 seconds timer. Yeah.
Image, did you, for the first image that we looked at, was that taken?
That was a remote control.
Okay.
So that was like a little click thingy. But also when I started out, I only had my camera on a timer. So like you run back and forth and you don't have something in your hands. There's really so much possible. But of course, it's the luxury today that you have your phone connected, you see on the screen what you're doing. But it also makes you very much look at the visuals instead of feeling. And I mean, that's also a big part of self-portraits, that you're more like, you're in a situation and the pose you're doing is more like coming from within and not coming from the outside looking on top of you. So that's really a balance you need to find and experiment with. And that's also why I would not suggest for people who start with self-portraits to right away connect a phone and do it with that approach.
This one is fantastic.
It's so nice because to me, my natural element normally would be just me in clothes that are not so clearly from this time. And I would definitely not have a lamp and a chair with me. But this was for an architecture magazine in collaboration with Artemide, the Italian lamp designers. Yeah. And so yeah, I went again out of my comfort zone. I was thinking, if I would photograph a lamp, how would I do that in a way that still feels me? And went with a generator to the forest, which was like, I definitely had help with that one because I was like, I'm not going to carry a generator to the forest.
The wheels don't work.
Yeah. And the wheels don't work on the generator. Yes.
Yeah.
Drive it to the underbrush.
No.
Yeah. So then I was really, really happy to be like, okay, can we just put the generator in the car and bring it out? Because it's also pretty heavy. I just realized by then, because I never, like, normally it's really just me and a camera out there in the wild. But of course, for a project like that, you do need some more things around it. Yeah, but to me, it was really nice to also put that technical effort into it, because I am quite good with Photoshop, but in this case, I think I'd say almost impossible to get it this nicely with the light. And it is a lamp with a very special, beautiful light. Editing that in would have been so hard. So I'm really happy I had that effort and actually brought all those things to the forest. And also the clients were like super happy with it. And like ever since then, Artemide is like a core client of mine. So it was really, really worth it.
Can you walk us through what your lighting scheme or your lighting diagram for this? Will you share maybe a little secret of how you lit the set?
I mean, for this one, really, the good thing is that I didn't really have to do anything but bring that lamp on set. It's really like, but I don't know what kind of bulbs they have in those lamps, but they are like making the nice softest light, because I've normally never ever shoot direct light over my face. But because this is such a beautiful, soft, I don't know, like almost foggy spreading out light.
An additional light?
No, there's no additional light. It's literally, yeah.
Wow.
It's literally the lamp in the forest. And it was like, it's a pretty dense, dark forest, but this was during the day. So there were some little like bokeh lights in the back that I retouched away because it wasn't that pitch black around me. But other than that, like it's just this nice little light like cave that this lamp creates. So that's like, I mean, it's not made for photographs, but it looks pretty nice in photographs.
Yeah, that it does.
Yeah, right? I have to give a compliment to Artemide. Yeah, again, here we also see, like, that's what I meant with, sometimes I do definitely enjoy going into Photoshop because, yes, I'm not naturally dissolving into black water. So, but this is also an example where I photographed this a few years ago in Italy it was an incredible place. It's Valle Versaccia, I think, and had this photo laying on my hard drive for a pretty long time, and didn't, because it was just me laying there. And nothing more was happening, and I was kind of not like, I was looking for at the photo every now and then. I never thought I like it, and then eventually I looked at it and was thinking, how nice would it be if I darkened down the water a bit, and my black dress is kind of, in reality, actually was a t-shirt and a jeans, because we were there by accident, so I had nothing planned with that. I just came there and thought I had to do something. So I was thinking maybe with my black clothes and the water darkening down a bit, maybe it could be like a one flow and flowing into the next puddle and being kind of part of the river and kind of flowing, melting into nature, which is most often really a goal that I have. And edited that. Actually, it's not that much editing. It's like just in the end, like thinning it a bit down and removing, I think, bare feet or something like that. And that was years later. Like,
I have to tell you, Laura, Bill and I mean, Rodrigo, Bill and I have been talking a lot about your work.
Yes.
And what I'm going to have Bill talk about, because I'm sick of the sound of my voice, is you really are, I think, destined to become an art director. I see that in your future. I mean, and I'll let you explain why, but and so I want to let folks know who are watching this that your upcoming event is a really great opportunity, because there will be a point in the not too distant future where you're not going to be accessible anymore. You know,
yeah,
sounds good to me.
You get it now, you know.
This will be historic.
Yeah, well, I think so. I mean, I really do. I think you have, I think we just got lucky, and that we are grabbing you on your ascendant rise. And so, but yeah.
Well, you have such a wonderful eye, and it shows in each of your photos that each one is a unique, it stands alone as unique property. And it's really fun to look at, and such variety. This is what really caught our eyes, is you try things and you push the envelope. And that's,
well, there was a high-end photographer, 60s, 70s, and 80s, Guy Bourdin. And the academic in me just has to say that your work is, I mean, you know, you both would
revolutionary.
Well, you both would have fed on each other. If he were alive today, I mean, you would have inspired him and he would inspire you. But your work is very reminiscent of the kind of irreverent
exploration, visual exploration,
feminine, sexual, and a little bit of the political. So yes, I mean, definitely.
Thank you.
Yes.
Laura, you mentioned Photoshop, and this picture is one that's that I believe was Photoshopped.
No, this is absolutely real. Sometimes I lay down on the beach and then I grow a little tree.
Another appendage.
Yeah.
That's such a beautiful composition, and I wanted to ask you about the model side of your work, because you're not just the photographer and the creator, you're also the model, right? Like, you're modeling for your own pieces. And did you have that background before you started shooting? How did that come about? How did you incorporate modeling in such a beautiful way into your work?
Well, I feel like it's more like a necessity, because like I'm the most awkward person when someone else photographs me. So because I think if someone is a model, they're like have a great talent of being in front of anyone's camera and being comfortable, and that's definitely not me. So it just came by necessity. I wanted to take self-portraits. I want to express myself, and I guess that only works best if you're doing that yourself. And eventually, of course, you get better, you know how to position hands and feet in order to express the mood that you want to express, and not have like clumsy dinosaur hands when you want to say something calm and gently. And I mean, I did a lot of gymnastics when I was a kid, so I had some, like, I know how to strike a pose maybe that you need to do in the beginning of and the end of your like thing at a competition. So I guess that kind of helped, because sometimes people think I'm a dancer, but I've never learned anything about dancing. I wish, like, in my wildest dreams, I'd be a dancer. And other than that, I think it's just like it's like trial and error, and you learn it by doing it. And I think it also helps to like let yourself fall into it a bit and just try to be natural and comfortable. And I think that's often what people forget as soon as there's a camera pointing at them, which I completely understand if it's not my own camera.
Absolutely.
Great image.
So
Beautiful.
you're really a master of both Photoshop and Lightroom, and we
Yes. After so many years, I have to. And I also really, really, really love it. I mean, especially Photoshop, but also being so thankful for a place like Lightroom where you're amazingly, I think geniusly, brought to the borders of what was already possible in a darkroom. So it's like, because everyone's always saying like, right, it was great, times were so great when it was still analog, and then you're looking at Lightroom, and I'm pretty sure most of the things that were possible, like in a way, were like in analog photography possible too, that you have in Lightroom, and no crazy manipulations. And then that's Photoshop. And I love both worlds so much, where you're like, on the one hand, you're trying to keep an image almost as it was, and giving it maybe a little bit more contrast, or doing a little bit of Dutch and burn or something like that. And I feel like half of my portfolio is like that, where I'm just maybe enhancing colors a bit. And then the other half of my portfolio is like absolutely mad love with Photoshop, because some things you just either can't or almost can't do in real life. If I'm doing something where a tree grows out of my side, you could have like have someone make a little tree into a giant tree, and have very good like hair and makeup people to kind of make that come out of your sight. I think it's kind of possible with very good costume builders and stuff like that. But then again, which young artist has the budget to do that? And then I can make it possible on my own from the whatever. After a year of practicing Photoshop, I can make it happen, and it's suddenly possible to me. So I'm incredibly thankful that programs like that exist and allow me to do something that otherwise I could maybe only do if I would be a writer or something like that.
Yes, no, it's true. You also, I mean, you know, you were mentioning the world of the analog days. Some of your earlier shots that we were looking at remind me of the art of selection, which I think you really have mastered. You know, you're not taking 16,000 images and then hoping that one of them will work out. You know, you're very careful. You know, it reminds me of the exercise that Ansel Adams used to do with his students, where they get one piece of negative, and that's all they had for the day, and they had to make their choice.
One sheet in the film.
One sheet in the film holder, and that was it. And he said, go out and you know, make your choice. And so, and you have that confidence.
But I think that's also comes with the years, because in the beginning, it was definitely not like that. It was really a lot of like trial and error and being like wildly. I think what you sometimes hear with photographers when they have like their finger on the like speed shutter. No, what is that called? Like continuous shutter, and you're like, whoa, that's crazy. Do you ever look at all those photos? And I think most people start out like that, and then I think it is a confidence thing also, that you like grow into that and slowly realize that if you look a bit more carefully and take a bit more time watching and valuing the individual photo, that you become a lot more selective, and you're maybe taking, I'm definitely have shootings where I take 10 images because I'm seeing the scenery, I'm taking one test photo, I maybe change a little bit about the composition, and then there's like 7 photos where I'm in the scene, I know my pose, I change a little bit about the pose, and then that's done. But that definitely never happened like 10 years ago. It's like, I mean, of course, there's so many things you need to learn, the posing, the composition, the everything. And I mean, that'd be brilliant if someone has that right away, but I think it's rare.
Well, you know what you're getting because of your experience. You know what you're getting. You know what it's going to look like.
Laura, with this next picture, one thing that I would like to ask you is how much of your pictures are produced before, like that you actually plan them, conceptualize them entirely before you shoot them, and what percentage of those are like the one that you mentioned that you had on your hard drive for a while and you didn't know what to do with it, and then you realize, oh, this is the idea, this is what I should do with it.
I feel like it's a big mix, because I mean, if I have a theme really, then I sometimes even like, yeah, have a mood board or something like that and really plan and go somewhere with the plan I mentioned at the beginning. I'd say very, very rarely. Actually, with the one we saw at the beach, I actually had a little doodle made at home that looked pretty much like this final photo.
Yeah.
That's one of the rare examples where I actually
Exactly.
did that before and had it in the end that similar. Because normally, like, I go somewhere, I have an idea, and then I still on the way make a left turn or a right turn because I'm thinking, wait, this is a lot better than what I originally had in mind. Because the process of photographing is inspiring itself, right? And if I would ignore that completely and just go with what I had, I feel like I would limit myself so much. And this example here was I was teaching a workshop in Switzerland about self-portraiture, and we were in a backyard, and I had everyone do an exercise where they walked around and searched for a location. And yeah, I think I will show the before and after of this and the surrounding in our event in 2 weeks, because I can't even explain that. It was like a weird metal construction that I found, and interestingly, we were like 15 people and everyone just walked by that construction. So I think it's also interesting to like really like teach your eye to find things. And then I placed my camera underneath and photographed up and was laying on top of it. And I'm pretty sure I took 2 or 3 photos. And I mean, I definitely had the plan of, seeing the person through those holes, but darkening the rest down and emphasizing the sky, that happened in the editing. So I think it's almost always a process. And that's also what's the funnest part to me. I feel like if I would just have a plan and then just do that, then I would almost feel like a contractor maybe. It would take so much away from me.
Who
Oh,
taught you to
sure.
see? Who, you mentioned that you learned how to see. You have to learn how to see differently. Who taught you, do you think?
I think it's, again, a mix. Like my parents definitely both have like artistic jobs. And then I studied architecture, which I think is also at least form, shape, color wise a good education also in this direction. And then I think mostly it's really also the photographing itself. I mean, I think it's really something after a few years of already having a camera. I think, at least for me, my vision changed completely. For me, it's impossible to walk through the world. I'm scanning every person, every light situation, every building, every corner in the street. I'm scanning for potential to create something with it. It's like, but I love it. It's almost like having photography glasses on, and to me, it's magic.
Well, talking about magic.
This is fantastic.
Wow.
This is great.
Yeah.
This is just beautiful.
Thank you.
I mean,
This was one where I had help.
I don't even know what to ask on this one.
Sorry.
I don't even know what to ask on this one.
Well, I can say something about how I took it, because there was like a clip where the camera was on a tripod, but then I had help, because here, like, it would be like the phone or the remote control would probably die in the water. So that's really then me saying like, okay, now, and then hoping that the person clicks the shutter actually in the moment that the wave comes.
I was going to ask you, like, so looking at this picture from this point of view, is the drone at all a tool for self-portraiture?
Yeah, I definitely want to explore that more, because there is, right, drones have the feature where you can make them just hover, and you could put the control next to you and take a photo. I think that'd be possible, because I only tested that once, and that was great. I just remember, it was my first time working with a drone, and then I didn't right away found the setting for high resolution images, and in the end I had like low resolution images and was frustrated with it. But I think I would definitely love to explore that more, because the world from above is still so unseen for us humans, right? And I think there's so much like wonder that can happen there.
Laura, before I go with the next image, I have some comments and questions from our audience. We have Pat, our good friend Pat. He's asking,
Hey, Pat.
hi, Pat. He's asking if you get any sort of pushback for working with Photoshop.
I feel like it must be frustrating to hear that answer, but I don't really think so. To me, it's always been just about exploring, like trying out. I barely watched tutorials except of when I really like hit something where I was like, wait, this doesn't make sense, or I think this doesn't work like that. And then I would, for specific things, like watch tutorials. And other than that, I've always really seen it a bit as a like playground and play around with things. And if I found out that one way didn't really work for me, then try to find another way, because I think that's also a magic about Photoshop, that there's like no one right way, which I think is also awesome, because I have weird ways of photoshopping sometimes. I see people doing it so differently, but then still, like, I don't have to feel bad, because there's just so many different ways to get to the same or almost same goal. So I never really had that feeling so much. But I can definitely understand that it is like, it's a very complicated playground with a lot of options. And I can totally understand that you be like, oh my God, this is so overwhelming. And then maybe the best thing is to just, yeah, definitely give yourself some time, and also just to start like gently and not try to do like everything at once. Sometimes it's already amazing if you do like selective color correction and like turn some colors a little bit and find out that that gives the image a completely different mood, and you're already so happy about that, and that's good for that picture.
That makes sense. Carl, our good friend Carl, is asking if you're still shooting with Sony cameras and lenses.
I still do. And then it's always like, I'm the worst with like camera names, and I think they're so complicated, but I am right now shooting with the Sony A7 III, I think. And I also like with the backup A7R2. Because people are always like lens wise, I mean, my favorite lens forever, I think, is like the 85 1.4, but that makes no sense for self-portraiture. So people are like, eh? But I sometimes photograph other people. Actually, I really love that too. And then I adore that lens. It's just so nice. There's like this, I don't know, smooth but precise, sharp like feature about that lens. And then for my self-portraits, I'm working a lot more with 2470 lens, which just gives me like, it's a 1.2, it's a 2.8, which of course is a whole different world than shooting with a lens that's like 1.4, or has the capacity for 1.4. But I just like the freedom that it gives me with the zoom. But I barely use that when I photograph other people. So yeah, I think it's so different for those two different things.
Wonderful. We have people on our chat from Tanzania, from Minneapolis, from Bloomington, from we have our good friends here. Some of our viewers, they are here every time, so we thank you them, guys. We will have another round of questions before we wrap up. So if you guys want to ask something, ask Laura something, feel free to throw into the chat. And meanwhile, let's look at another beach picture that doesn't contain water, but hang on.
I know it.
Yeah, you know which one, right? Yeah, but it also doesn't contain a head.
That is true, because that was also for a weekly theme, and the theme was silence. And I went to the beach wanting to photograph this concept, but with my head underneath the water, which I don't know in which world I thought that would ever work. But yeah, maybe with a drone. But anyway, you also have to have such dark water to not see the head face actually, or like very shiny perspective. But anyway, it was a very wavy day and it was just not possible. So I spontaneously had to find a different way. And I thought, why don't I just bury my head underneath the sand? And people
that would never occur to me, I guess.
Also, I have to say, like, I underestimated it, because I had goggles on with a snorkel on the side to breathe underneath my arm, and a t-shirt wrapped around my head. But I really underestimated that if you have your head underneath the sand, and it's like 5 centimeters of sand over your head, but it's not a comfortable feeling to have a layer covering your head. I didn't think it'd be that claustrophobic, but I was really like, I had to really take some deep breaths to be like, okay, I'm fine. It's 5 centimeters. I could at any point lift my head and it'd be fine. But it was so like weird. And then
blanketing. Mm-hmm.
And then I had like a friend of mine that was like a massive tree stump at the beach, and I had my tripod and a camera up there. And again, and that's so nice. It comes in so handy to have like people who can climb as your friends, standing up there, and me through the like snorkel, making a sound every time I wanted a photo, like making a pose, being like, and also like him being like, Laura, are you still fine? And I'm like, because of course you cannot talk at all, and you're just hoping that it looks like what you were hoping like it would look like, that it's actually what's happening, because you're not going to bury your head so many times and come back.
I just want to put a warning out there, like it's the mother in me. It's okay to take chances, but no photographs that include like dropping a toaster into water. Okay,
oh my God, please no.
No toasters or electronics.
You definitely want Photoshop for that.
Yeah, we all agree on that.
Hey, Laura, before we move on, I want to ask you about the outfits, because you seem very careful with all of that in how you pick everything, even colors and like for instance here, is this the original color of the outfit? Did you have to tweak it? So you actually thought of something that you could wear that would also kind of disappear into the scene, right? How do you work that other part of the equation?
Well, to me, it's like, I mean, that's such a big topic again. Maybe I'll go like into detail again with the call in 2 weeks, but I definitely try to find things that are kind of timeless, where except for the one with the lamp in the forest, where I was already modern with my lamp in a chair. No one's going to ever believe that was 500 years ago. But normally I try with the clothes to be like, timeless, to not tell people exactly which time we're in, because it gives you so much more like options in which story people can see in the image. And then, I have a variety of like bodysuits in kind of my skin color, like they vary.
Here they are.
I'm so happy you give pig for that order. You can really see like, because this is almost like the years of and I think I actually ordered them in the years of when I had them. And you can definitely see that I tried different things. Most of the time it's a one piece, and then one time I tried more in like a bikini version. And the funniest thing is that this is almost always, this is like for elderly women underwear section in some funny stores. Like this is where I get them. And I'm so
careful.
Yes.
Careful. Be careful. Elderly.
That is definitely like another age group that I mean.
She's understood that whole very quickly. Yes.
And it's definitely, I mean, here I'm with those bodysuits, I'm definitely trying to like replicate almost no clothes without having nudity screaming at the viewer, which is like, and that is why I guess this would be a topic for like talking half an hour about this. But it's just nice. It also gives you the little bit more comfortable situation when a lot of like people come by and you don't want to like disturb them or them to disturb you.
Laura, speaking specifically of this picture, because this is very impressive, the light work that's going on here. Not just the composition, your pose, the whole story going on about this picture, but the light work in this specific picture it's very, I guess it's a bit more complex than any others we've seen yet, unless I've missed something. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened here in terms of light?
It's gonna be a bit disappointing because this is a glass roof in a house, so it's gonna be hard dish to replicate. I think it's like very lucky, because normally the material of the wall is pandomo, which is normally used on floors. I mean, I guess this is perks of an architect mother, where she does weird things in the house, and my dad builds all those things that. But pretty nice constellation, where I was really lucky. This is the hallway in front of my childhood house where I grew up. And there's a glass roof above. So that was very lucky. And like so many people texted me already about what's that wall and where can I shoot there and what's the lighting? And I'm like, I wish I could say I'm like a lighting genius, but this is just like real life. And I'm incredibly lucky. And also like a quarter of my portfolio kind of involves that wall.
But you still had to pick this composition, right? Like this setting of how the light was casting in the shadows, and you still this didn't happen by accident, right? Like you
Maybe
chose
that's
this.
true. Maybe I give myself a little too little.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Well, yeah, I mean, you definitely have to pick like a cloudy day, because otherwise there's still like a lot of sun coming down, and then you have really massive shadows, and you have to pick the right time of the day so the light is a bit more coming from the west, I think, in that case. And well, picking the composition, because there's a lot of stuff going on around it. But other than that, it's also quite some luck.
What's the name of the cat, by the way?
His name is Nero. He never burned anything down, I promise.
Yet.
Oh, that's true. No, he's very peaceful and scared. He's like a scaredy cat.
This one is also very, very interesting because it's
artificial light.
Yeah.
And it's rare for me.
Yeah.
Very rare. Yeah. And it's shot in the corner of my bedroom, because also, I think that's also something where people are always like, oh man, you always have such great locations. I mean, in this one, nobody said you have a great location, but I mean, still people do not really consider their bedroom a location. But then again, if you turn off the light and it's dark and you put a light bulb, an LED light bulb that doesn't get hot underneath your bodysuit, then it's actually a pretty easy concept. Like some little removing lines or stuff like that, and trying some poses that look maybe nice and where you really see the reflection of the light on some other body parts. But it's not even like this wasn't that crazy difficult. I think people are often so surprised by how little you need to create something that could maybe be liked by people and that you like yourself.
There are art directors who would be able to justify a $500,000 budget for that shoot.
To do that shoot.
Am I right?
Exactly.
Because it's very high concept.
It's very high concept, and it's gorgeous too. It's so soft, gentle. It's really a delight to look at.
Thank you.
Laura, we have one more picture to look at, but before we do, I'm going to bring in 2 more questions from our audience. So Carl is asking about your influences, if someone influenced you from the past, if you have any influences today, I would add, if there's anyone you would recommend following because you follow, feel free to tell us all about that.
Well, I feel like for people who influenced me, it is actually other young female photographers who took self-portraits in the time when I started, which was giving me I almost feel like the validation that I wasn't weird. So that was Rosie Hardy, who is still like photographing, and she's a very well-known self-portrait photographer from the UK. And there is Kaylee Garrett, who was like taking a lot more, because Rosie Hardy is a lot more like also Photoshop, imaginary, conceptual. And Kaylee Garrett was someone who was taking very almost like diary honesty photographs and also self-portraits. And those were the 2 women who mostly influenced me back on Flickr, actually. And still, Kaylee, I think, almost doesn't take photos anymore, but Rosie still does. And we actually became friends in the end, which was really nice too, that when that happens in your life. And they definitely like influenced me for a long time, and Rosie still does. And for today, I think it got a lot more broad. I feel like there's not one photographer where I would say, wow, this is like all the time inspiring me or giving me like a main influence, but more like there's I don't know, I'm assuming 50 photographers or something that regularly produce something where I'm getting a glimpse of inspiration from, which I think is already amazing in times of flood of visuals happening in front of all of us. And for that, I think I'd almost have to make like a list. Maybe that's also something I can put into like a little corner of the talk in 2 weeks to make maybe my 10, if I narrow it down, my 10
so
favorite
cool.
photographers.
Fantastic.
That would be so cool.
What about painters? Because I mean, I think of Georgia O'Keeffe with some of your images, the feminine and the sexual. Definitely Georgia O'Keeffe. And so maybe think about painters as well.
Can I also bring architects? Because I feel like as much as I love paintings and painters, I think I've never had any painters really, but there's definitely architects that inspire me massively, where I'm thinking in like calm lines and stuff like that, and colors and moods. They inspired me massively.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful. Well,
Yes.
Our friend James is asking about the difference between shooting your own projects and shooting for a client, shooting a brief.
That is definitely like the degree of experimenting I allow myself. If it's for a client, I definitely have a plan. And of course, often you even have to discuss that plan before you even go shooting. And then, yeah, I make a doodle. I do some preparation things. I have a mood board and go out with that. And when I do my own projects, I normally give myself a lot more freedom. And yeah, and I think a different challenge. One time it's more like sticking to the plan is a challenge. And one time the challenge is to go out with, well, nothing maybe, and making something out of that. So to me, it feels like two incredibly different paths, which both definitely push me like out of my comfort zone and make me grow a lot. So it's not that, which I think is great, that I don't even have to say, oh, only on my private projects I can experiment so much that I have fun. But definitely also with having like, yeah, having that stricter plan and sticking to it and being challenged by that, and definitely not being used to that. I'm definitely also growing from that and learning from that.
That's wonderful. And this, as our last picture, is a composite of many pictures that are not self-portraits, right? Like
Yeah.
it's your like, so if you were not already amazing as a self-portrait artist, here you are, a photographer just killing it. So yeah, please tell us a little bit about your work with other genres.
Yeah, I just also, because I'm massively in love with photographing other people, especially because me to myself, I can only always tell the same story, which is like amazing and super important. And I'll dive into that so much, why that is like such a gift in 2 weeks. But I've done that for over 10 years now. And I'm so keen every now and then, and now it's getting a bit more, that I want to hear other people's stories. And I often was thinking, if I photograph someone, then I'm not telling their story, I'm photographing them. But ever since I started to actually take a lot of time and talk to the people and have real, deep, honest, actual conversations and sharing that with the images, I feel a lot more like actually sharing what's important. Because as much as we say a picture can say more than 1,000 words, that's maybe true if you're a documentary photographer, but if you just look at any of these images, you can get an idea of the mood of someone, but you will not know their story. And I think in so many of these cases, these people have an incredible story. And only ever since I started actually asking them and sharing a part of that, it feels justified maybe to share these images and have people see more than the visual shell. And that's something that I needed to learn first, to not feel like kind of superficial and just scratching the surface and maybe 2 centimeters within, because I'm maybe showing a part of their soul or their mood. Only now that feels a bit like, more justified. And other than that, I mean, you still see like the clear visual language. I'm still trying to keep to that. And just meeting these people is the actual joy in that. And then I try to show them in a way that lives up to how amazing they are.
Yeah, and the signature is definitely there. Like it's very clear that this is you. Like you're not there on that side of the camera anymore, but it's your signature is still there. We can see the influence of everything you've been building up with your first love into this second relationship in photography. And that's just beautiful. Well done.
Thank you.
Well, Laura, with that, I want to thank you so much for being with us today. It was a true gift. We can't thank you enough. I know everyone and people are still sending questions right this second. We don't have more time, but guys, she's coming back with a premium special VIP event in 2 weeks, 2 weeks from now on. So right now on the description of this video on YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching it on Facebook, go to YouTube, or it should be on Facebook as well. But you should find a link to the event in the next 2 weeks. Run. It's not free for all like this one. It's limited spaces, lots of spaces, but limited spaces. Go sign up, register, because next event we really are going to have. It's just Laura talking the whole time. We're going to be gone for the most part. So it's really lots and lots of insights into this career, into this craft, into this world of self-portraiture, which is a world that Laura is simply one of the very best in the world today. Laura, thank you so much.
Thank you. And then also maybe send me over the questions and I can incorporate that in 2 weeks. So
Absolutely.
I really know.
Perfect. Guys, if you have more questions to Laura, you can send it to hello@luminocenter.com.
Yes.
We will get those. We'll give them to Laura, and Laura will incorporate those into the talk, and it's going to be just delicious. I can't wait.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Laura. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you all.
We'll see you soon.
See you soon. Bye-bye, guys. Ciao.
Everybody.
Bye.